Now, wicked. So we are live. Welcome, gents. Talking through Watford versus Newcastle. Before that, how is everyone doing? Obviously, we've had some updates from the government since I last seen you guys. So we are nearly free to go outside. So we might actually be able to meet in person. But apart from that, how are you guys?
I'm good. Funnily enough, I'm looking forward to things like cinemas. So there's a few films that they've delayed, which obviously there'll be a bit of social distancing, maybe like two people on a row. But I'm looking forward to going back to the cinema. So bit of a weird one.
What about
But
you,
yeah,
Pete?
all good.
I'm in Leicester, so we're still in lockdown for 2 weeks.
Oh,
You
that's
guys are
peak.
the naughty boys and girls, aren't you, in Leicester? I don't know what you're doing in Leicester.
Honestly, I'm literally what, half a mile inside the zone. I'm literally right on the outskirts, so that I'm so frustrated with that. But yeah. Other than that, I'm good. I work in education, so we're finished with the summer now. So got 6 weeks to not think about work. I'm all good from that perspective.
Sweet. Good evening to Gary Nixon listening in. Fumbi will be coming in just in a bit, just to let you guys know. But we'll already get started without him, and then he can join us later. So obviously got, I'd say, quite a big game tomorrow against Watford. I know we've got nothing to play for. Watford maybe, but obviously we just got to kind of prove ourselves off the back of a really disappointing loss. So yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm quietly confident that we can get something. I'm not too sure about you two. Thoughts?
Battle for me is in the midfield. So I've heard talks of Hayden and Longstaff being injured. So I really don't want to see Bentaleb. And hoping Matty Longstaff can play with Shelby. And Matty Longstaff has a lot to prove if he wants that big contract. So I'm hoping to see him quite combative in there because Watford, I know they haven't had a good season, but they have some really tidy central midfielders. And I feel that's where the battle will be won or lost. I don't think it will be a high scoring game, but that control of midfield will be important. So Bentaleb for me wouldn't be involved in that control. So I hope to see back to the formation we had before we played City.
Yeah, I don't think Benton will be high on anyone's list from a black and white point of view.
No.
Pete, yeah, going into this game, any changes for you? Obviously, there's got to be loads of changes, but what's the main key ones that you can think of?
Gale has to start. He has to start up front, and I think he will. You know, Bruce says in his presser about he needs to check on one or two to see if they're fit or not. Look, Lascelles was fit, ASM was fit, Almiron was fit. They were training in the build up to the Man City game. If they were injured, they wouldn't be training. It's as simple as that. So he's purely rested them, but he's just not said it that way. So they'll all be back in. So Gale will start. ASM will come on the left. Almiron will come in number 10. Lascelles will be back in. So your Kraft and your Shaw will go back to the bench. I just think Marv made a really good point about Matty Longstaff. You know, this funnily enough against Watford, who he could potentially be going on loan to if he goes through the lazy, could be and should really be starting tomorrow, because he's got a lot to prove. You know, as I've said before, I wasn't impressed with when he come off the bench against Man City. Nobody played well, but he didn't look like he was really trying or wanting to show what he's about. But if he wants to command that 30 grand a week that he's demanding from the club, this is the opportunity, perfect opportunity. Bentaleb for me, as I said, I won't play him again. If it was up to me, I know that there's talk of Hayden and Sean Longstaff not being fit for the remainder of the games now because of their hamstring injuries, but hopefully at least one of them will come back for the Tottenham or maybe even Liverpool game. But yeah, Matty Longstaff's the big one for me. I hope he plays, and I hope we see what we were raving about back in November when he scored the winning goal against Man United. So I hope we get to see that Matty Longstaff and not the more recent version.
No, you're right there. I want to talk about the defence really as well. Like, obviously, we've had quite a few chops and changes in the recent games. We've had Kraft come in the last couple of games. We've had Mankia move to one side. We've had Rose drop. We've had Share drop back in. what's our best four, and do we kind of keep it stable from now on to the rest of the season? What's our best four, Mark?
Well, just I'm not really a stat person, but I mentioned on our WhatsApp group before, which it really puzzles me the defensive record away from home and at home. So at home, it's something like we've got the joint third best defensive record, joint with Leicester. So I think like the second best defensive is like Sheffield United and Man United, and then Liverpool. I've got the best, and then away from home, it's a joint worst with Aston Villa. We've conceded 35 goals. So just off the top of my head, like Norwich 3, Man City 5. Who else we got? We got quite a few different ones. Arsenal, I think it was 3. Leicester 5.
Man United as well.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see the correlation between those defenses who was playing and the ones where we haven't. And it's crazy, but ASM makes such a difference to our actual defense. And a defense wouldn't just be the actual defenders, but because ASM pushes up the field, because when he's not playing, like Man City did, they just realised they can push right up. So Otamendi and Stones were literally walking and patrolling the halfway line because there's nothing going in behind. So when Pete was talking before, Gale's massive because especially away from home, we need to stretch them over the other side because Joelinton could hold it a little bit on the halfway line. No one's near him, but we need some players that would allow us to push up the field and relieve our defence. Like, I don't actually think Man City have an unbelievable defence, but because they have the midfielders and the attack to control, then their defence gets relieved of pressure. But to answer your question, I'd probably go with Manquillo right. I'm so happy Lascelles is back, and I never thought I'd say this, but I really miss Kieran Clark as well. He would have been a great one to have for the Man City game. But Lascelles and Fernandes, even though Fernandes probably needs a break. And then Danny Rose, I actually hope we sign Danny Rose, especially if a 5 million fee's been mooted. That would be quite a good, steady signing. So I go with that back four and obviously Dubravka in goal. I think that would be from a defensive point of view, I'd want to see that back five for the rest of the season and then just see how that goes. Because especially going into next season, we need to see if that's the base, where can that be improved? Because I believe fullbacks should be on our agenda for signings, but are Rose and Manquillo going to be starters? It remains to be seen. So I'd go with that back five for the rest of the season and see. I'll be watching very closely how many goals we concede against decent attacks like Liverpool and Tottenham. We'll see how they do against them.
Nah, Marv, you made some really good points there. Pete, I don't know if you want to expand on that. I didn't really kind of look upon St. Maximin benefiting us defensively as well as offensively, but Marv made a really good point there.
Just with the stats and the number of points there, that we get, the number of points we get with ASM and defensive records better is because basically you can pin us in when he's not playing because he occupies so many defenders, and I feel like the fullback's thinking about going forward a lot more when he's not playing, so he makes them think the other way as well. But I've been a big believer of that, where a team like Arsenal, for instance, are on about just getting defenders, but they need a defensive midfielder. They need players that can control the game as well, because like Barcelona using Mascherano as a defender, because they control the ball, that the defense isn't under as much pressure. It always helps when you got a player like a Van Dijk or someone, but your midfield controlling it definitely helps your defense.
No, perfect. Pete, do you want to jump in?
No, it's just Miles made some good points. For me, it doesn't matter what back four we have; it's a mentality issue. And I've said it time and time again. You can go back 10, 15, 20 years. When we go away from home, our mentality is completely different compared to when we're at home. When we've got the fans behind us, when we're in our home ground. It's the opposite for the opposition that come to our place. There's a mentality issue for some teams that come to St James's, whether it's the distance and travel, whether it's just the ground, whether it's the atmosphere. I don't know what it is, but Newcastle really struggle away from home. And unless we get the first goal, we struggle in games. It doesn't matter who we play against. I think when we've had good away games, I'm going back to the 2 wins under Rafa Benitez away at Leicester. And Leicester were a good side the last couple of years. But those 2 wins were crucial because we got the first goal. I think if we didn't get the first goal, they could have gone on and quite comfortably won the game. And you could go back to a lot of other games in the past. And you can go back to the likes of Watford, even last season. We get the first goal. We look like we're in the game. They equalise. We get another goal. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. We have to get the first goal, and it'll be the same tomorrow. If we don't get the first goal, the panic starts to set in, the pressure starts to build, the home team start to put pressure on us, and therefore that's when we tend to leak goals in that position because mentally we're not strong enough to be able to hold it. Apart from that season, we finished fifth. I can't think of any other season where we've had a great away record in the sort of Mike Ashley era in the Premier League. But another point as well about ASM, you can say about Almiron, you can say about Dwight Gale, is that they've got the ability to carry the ball. And when they carry the ball 10, 15, 20, 30 yards up the pitch, it just relieves the pressure. It relieves the pressure of the defence. When you've got the likes of Matt Ritchie, for example, who had a really poor game against Man City, the reason being is because he was just panicking on the ball. He didn't know what to do, lumping it up, giving the possession back, and then the pressure's back on us again. And there's no relief from the defence, so they're constantly under the cosh. And if you're constantly under the cosh, you're going to break at some point. And that's where ASM, Almiron, Dwight Gale does it. Even the likes of John Joe Shelby, who's really good on the ball and can look after the ball. They're the players that you want. They're the players that you need in the team. So that's a big thing.
No, fair enough. This is probably a question for both of you. Moving further forward into midfield now, I know you mentioned, Pete, earlier on that ASM and Miggy were on the bench and training, and were available, but obviously didn't play against Man City. Do we throw them straight back into this game, or do we give the likes of Lazaro another look? Because he's still got some points to prove. Out of the 3 loan signings that we made in January, I'd say Rose is probably the only one that's kind of cemented a possibility of staying here. So do we give Lazaro another look? And that's to both of you two.
For me, no. The one thing with Newcastle over the years is that we have to play our best 11 to get our best performances out of the team. And it's quite clear that Lazaro is not one of our best 11. If you're looking across that midfield, particularly across that 3 just behind the main striker, you've got ASM, you've got Almiron, and then you'll probably go Ritchie ahead of Lazaro in terms of performances. I know he didn't play well against Man City, but the games before that he was playing well. So you'd have him in front. And for me, I look at Watford, I look at Brighton, I even look at Tottenham, the way they're playing at the moment at home on Wednesday, is winnable games. Now, we've got an opportunity to potentially get 9 points from those games. 9 points puts us into the 50 bracket of points for the season. Now, there was a stat out there saying in the last how many times under Ashley have we got 50 plus points compared to the previous 13 years? I think it was like 9 times. I think we had the previous 13 years. I think it was 9 times or 9 seasons we got more than 50 points. And I think this time round, under Ashley, I think there's 1 when we finished 5th, 2 if we're lucky, or late 40s, for example. We've got an opportunity here to get some points on the board. Those points on the board could be the difference of 4, 5, 6 million in the position stakes. That's big money, particularly in this climate with COVID and everything. So we should be looking to push on. Doesn't matter whether the owners come in or not. It's extra money in the kitty. So for me, I would go with our best 11 now. We've given them opportunities. They haven't performed individually or collectively. So why continue?
Okay. Marv, Pete's not sold on Lazaro, are you?
I can totally understand Pete's point. I would give him a start in this game and to see what exactly could do. I think Bruce could have rotated a little bit better in these past couple of weeks. That's just a personal opinion. And I think if Lazaro started on the right, Almir on number 10, and then Maximin on the left, even though Maximin's position's better on the right, I don't know if we've seen that front 3 with Gale. And if we go ahead in that game, the nerves will definitely set in for Watford. So I'd want to see a confident start from those front 3. But if Ritchie started, I wouldn't be too disappointed. With regards to the 3 loan signings, I'd say Rose is the only one that we might get. Lazaro is 50-50, and it's looking likely we won't. And Bentaleb, God forbid, definitely not. So I will give Lazaro a start on the right. and see how he plays from the start with Almiron and St. Maximin. But I can totally see why you wouldn't want to start him as well. But just personal preference, I'd give him a start in this game. And then against Tottenham, I'd play Richie.
Nah, fair points, guys. Let's move on to the opposition now, because I think we've kind of touched upon up front. We don't really want to start Joe Linton, but he probably will start. So we'll skip that bit. Move on to Watford. Who do we need to be wary of? Obviously, captained by Troy Deeney. From what I understand, he's going to play tomorrow. But again, they've got quite a few danger players. The likes of Delafeu, Ismail Sarr. Like, who are we looking out for in particular? I'll start with you, Pete.
The two players that you just mentioned, Delafeu, Troy Deeney. He will work. He's a big target man. He works hard off the ball, and he is a threat. He's a genuine threat. So our centre backs are going to have to be on their game, because he will not let up for 90 minutes, and he only needs one chance to put it away. Delafeu, very, very tricky, intelligent player. He's not consistent, which is why he never made it to Barcelona. So I'm hoping that Delafeu has an off day tomorrow. Decor in midfield. I'm actually surprised he's still at Watford, because I think he's a very talented centre midfield player. Reminds me a lot of Diarme in terms of his physical presence. He battles, but he's also got some quality forward and gets some goals as well. And Ben Foster. Ben Foster is a fantastic goalkeeper. The key to Watford at the moment is that their manager, and his name's gone out of my head for some reason.
Nigel Pearson.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, he was an ex-Newcastle player as well. Nigel Pearson is a very defensive-minded coach, and the key and the difference in Watford is that they haven't conceded many goals, and Marv mentioned that quite earlier on. And it will be a close game, and the fact that they've got a fantastic keeper in goal will make it close, and the fact that we've got a fantastic keeper in goal will make it close as well. So we're going to have to really break them down. I think defensively they can be got at, but with Foster, Delafeu, Decor, Troy Deeney, they've got players in there that can hurt us. Equally, we have players that can hurt them. So it'll be an interesting game. They're a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird because Watford, you see Watford and West Ham, they're kind of in a false position, because you look at their players on paper and you think they should be nowhere near the relegation zone. And it's a weird one. Watford, I think last season were fighting for Europe, and this season they're like scrambling to stay in the league. It's such a weird club, without sounding horrible, they are, because they're very much yo-yo. You never know what to expect from them season upon season. So it'll be interesting. It'll be a tough game, but it'll be interesting.
Mr. Fumbi, how you doing?
Sir. What's going on?
How's it going?
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. What's up?
Yeah, we're obviously talking through this game, man. We've kind of drowned our sorrows regarding to the last game. We talked about that. We're over it now, I think.
I think. Look, man. We're unfortunately we're already looking to next season. We're mathematically safe, so it's a case of what I would want is at least decent performances, and not to think we're on holiday already. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Watford have a lot more to play for than we do. If we go 1-0 up early, we are not going to claw our way back. There's no fans taking on them. We'll just go through the motions, I think, because they need this. They need these points. So what I'm looking for more so is how we're going to shape up next season. I want to see who we're going to keep and who we're going to get rid of. I'm not really going into games now thinking we must win or must lose. I just want to see good performances. I want to see that we care.
That's a good point. I mean, I'll ask you quickly then, before we get back onto Watford. Who's on your in and out list? Like, just off the top of your head, who's out the door? Like, Benito, gone.
I think we got to get rid of Carroll. I think we got to get, if we can sell. Yeah. We don't need him. We really don't.
Bro, what are you on about?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't really care about Carroll, to be honest with you. I want players like that to go. I think Yedlin's time's up. I think it's a wrap for him, to be fair. Unfortunate, because I like Yedlin, but he's an athlete, not a defender, and you can't get that many chances. Atsu, peace. Please.
Amen, brother.
Do the right thing, bro, and please do the right thing. I heard someone say, I think it was in the group said something like we can get what's his name from Dortmund. Schürrle. Look, I'm tired of this kind of stuff. I don't like players on their 35-year-old
He's a
living
journeyman.
glory days of Chelsea 7 years ago, and we're linked with them like, yeah, we're getting a brand new player. Nah, fam. I need ideas.
We did
From
that.
me. I need to step in with that Schürrle. Schürrle, right? Schürrle signed on loan for Fulham. Fulham agreed to pay 70, 80 grand worth of wages last year. The last 10 games of the season, they refused to play him. His attitude was that bad. Now, he went to a team that ended up getting relegated. No other Premier League team was signing. There's a reason why a former German international can't get in the Dortmund side, and why they're willing to release him for 2 million. Equally, there's a reason why Schalke are willing to renegotiate our loan to permanent deal with Bentaleb and willing to lower the price. It's because those type of players have either a bad attitude or are on the decline, no matter what age they are. For Schalke, it's both. He's got a bad attitude and he's on the decline. That type of player, no matter what he did at Chelsea, right? No matter what he did at Chelsea, he hasn't replicated it since.
Nah.
He's the worst type of player we should be looking at.
Oh yeah, and we have a history of signing problem heads. Do you know what I mean? Guys who come with so much baggage, and it's because they had a glory moment. Now all of a sudden they're good for Newcastle. Bentaleb, I didn't have a problem with Bentaleb until he tweeted, "Good work."
Yeah.
Man, a 5-0 result. When you lose 5-0, you turn your phone off.
Yeah. You know what? When it's that bad,
you got to go now.
You apologise to the fans when it's that bad. There was no apology there. You know what I mean? When it's that bad, you apologise to the fans or don't say anything at all. The fact that he said that, I just saw that and just kept rolling because I'm not interested in chatting.
There's something to learn. The only thing I learned was you have to go.
You know what that is? That's a classic. That's a classic example of reading the room. Like, read the room, man. Like, check on all your teammates. Are they tweeting out? No. Okay, they're not tweeting for a reason. Shut up. Wait for your next chance if you get one, and that's it. You don't need to tweet out every single game. Good game. Learn something today. No, you didn't. We got whooped. We got embarrassed on TV. Fumbi, keep going through that list, boy, because I'm enjoying this now. Go on.
So yeah, I want players. Even Dwight Gale, if we can get good money for him and bring in a replacement, I don't mind. I just want players who are not. It's just not about names now. I want players that want to perform for the club. You know what I mean? Like, not coming here thinking, I got this. You know, I'm a player in it. No, look at Matt Greenwood from Man United, man. Why can't we just produce some shit like that? Why not?
No, look, he's a once in a generation talent.
But he never gets that generation.
But look at our training ground, man. Look at our academy. I mean, come on, let's be honest, man. Look, I really interested. I was watching an interview with Rob Lee a couple of weeks ago, and he even made the point that training ground's not changed since he last played for Newcastle in the early 2000s.
Wow.
Right? And back then, the late 90s, early 2000s, that was state of the art.
That was advanced
facilities. Yeah, that was advanced facilities. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. Now you look at those facilities. That is why. If you've ever been to the Etihad and you've looked across the road to Man City's training facilities, that's why they're producing the Phil Fodens and the Eric Garcias and the players that have from that. They might pluck them from other clubs, but they bring them to their facility and make them the players that they are. That's why Dortmund are classical examples of bringing through top talent. You look at Ajax. You look at those top players. You've even got Brighton, Leicester, that are building some of the best facilities in Europe. Not even in the Premier League. Not even in England.
They've got systems in place, haven't they? So they can do that.
So, exactly, and they in the years to come will be bringing in young players. They'll be bringing in the young players that will be coming through their academies and coming into their first team. We've been lucky with Sean and Matty Longstaff. You can even say, it has. It's been pure luck that those guys have come through. Chance and luck. But we need to be making sure that we're churning through, that we've got a conveyor belt, and we're not with those facilities. That's the first thing that needs to be done. Planning permission, reconfiguration, construction, get it done, and that's gonna sell big players coming to us because they're going to be coming to those quality facilities, and then as well as that, you're going to be bringing through young talent. I always remember Luka Modric. He was on the verge of signing for us before he went to Tottenham. No, honestly, I'll never ever forget. There was pictures on Sky Sports. The local media went mad about it because Luka Modric was there, and they had film of him being shown around the training ground. Within 24 hours, bang, Tottenham said, "Come down to ours." And that's not even Tottenham's new training facilities. That's their old one. Come down to ours. Yeah, I'll sign for Tottenham. Because he's looking at their facilities. He's looking at what they've got. And he's looked at what he's seen at Newcastle and thinking, that's not like it.
He also had bloody Dennis Wise in charge, who apparently didn't fancy him. I was like, you fancy Luka Modric? Luka Modric? You mad? You didn't fancy him? I think he said he's too on the small side or some nonsense like that. So, yeah, we've been through it, man. Just making those stupid decisions. I feel like we've gone slightly left now. We're here to talk about Watford versus Newcastle. Now we're talking about recruitment and training facilities.
Is that because we're looking at players? We're talking about players, weren't we?
Yeah.
I've got a few points with the Watford game. So I think a big point is sometimes we can be quite weak on set pieces. I think it was a bit of a problem against West Ham. So I think the defender's name's Craig Dawson, but he's hitting a bit of a purple patch with set pieces. So I'm so glad Lascelles is back. We've got to be really on it with that. And Dubravka just claiming the ball. And also a confident, as ridiculous as it sounds, a confident Danny Welbeck is just a one to watch out for in a little bit.
Welbeck can't score against us, Marv. Welbeck cannot score against us. It's not allowed.
For Worldy, I'm switching off.
If Welbeck scores, I'm crying.
So that's why I don't want to happen.
Oh man, I'm more interested in the battle between Deeney and Lascelles. I think that's going to be a battle in itself because I made something similar to like when it was Antonio versus Lascelles, and Antonio got the better of Lascelles. So I feel like Lascelles needs to come back even stronger because I wasn't very convinced in that game. But
I think Lascelles has got the beating of Troy Deeney. I think from a physical battle and from an athleticism factor as well. Antonio, his athleticism is like unbelievable. I mean, that guy, if it wasn't for his injuries, he wouldn't be playing for West Ham right now. He'd be playing for a better team. He'd be playing in the top six. That's how much I rate him as a player. I think he's a fantastic talent. And I think the fact that his injuries have just let him down. And personally, I think he should have had more England caps. I think he's worthy of getting into a England squad when he's fit and he's firing and playing well. And regularly, he's good enough to get into those squads. But Troy Deeney's slightly different. He's like a pit bull. He don't stop working, don't stop grafting. But I think physically, I think Lascelles can keep up with him. It's just whether the rest of the defence in and around that can work in his favour. If we can do that, I think we've got a good chance of cancelling them out. But I think the game will be won on the wings for both teams. I think the wingers you talked about, Sarr, who's a fantastic young talent, Delafeu. We've got whoever will play on the right hand side for us, whether it's Lazar or Richie, and then you've got ASM. I think that's where the game will be won.
Yeah, you're right. And listen, the main thing for me is as long as we don't play players in the wrong positions like we have been before, we'll do all right. So I do not want to see Manquillo play left back when we can play him right back and we can play Rose left back. I don't want to see ASM put predominantly on the left hand side when he shines better on the right hand side. Like he can go both ways. He's versatile like that. I don't want to see Joe Linton play up top by himself. We've proven, and he's proven that it doesn't work. I think Gale is the better option, like I think a few of you said. And I think if we do that, I think we stand a good chance of getting a point, but I think we can get all three. Thoughts on that, guys?
We always drew with Watford, funny enough.
Yeah.
We never really beat Watford. Every time I see players play Watford, it's always a 1-1 or we kind of lose a 1-0. So I would like us to beat them, because I'm always like, we should be beating Watford.
Yeah, I agree. Their last 2 games, I think, Arsenal and Man City. I'm not sure about their third to last game, so they really do have to go for it. I think they're 4 points above Bournemouth
Villa.
and 3, above Villa, and then 3 above Bournemouth or something like that. So if one of them win, then they're in a spot of bother. So they need to start claiming the 3 points, and they will see this as a winnable game. So it's all about, like what Pete said, our mentality and our attitude. Because especially if we get the first goal, they're going to be in trouble because we'll just more be relaxed.
It's like you, but it's like you and Clinton said, Marv. The pressure's offers. I think Funny said the same. The pressure's offers, so we should be going into that game with confidence. We're still in the league next year. We're still in this league, guaranteed mathematically. So we should be going out there with that confidence. The fact that we have been playing well, albeit the Man City games, and saying, right, okay, come and break us down. You want to beat us? You're going to have to come out and you're going to have to attack us. And then we catch them on the break with our quality. That's what needs to happen. But it all depends on how we turn up. This is a winnable game. This is a winnable game. And I know from me, you mentioned that it's not about the result. For me, I want 3 points. These are games that we should be...
I agree, Pete. I agree.
This is a ground that, as you said, we don't get good results from. We're lucky if we get a draw. It doesn't matter what time of the season. We never seem to do well playing away at Watford, and I don't know why. Whether it's a London thing, whether it's just a mentality thing, I don't know.
Was there a time, Pete, when Dow Janmaat scored against us?
Not sure. I can't, he may have.
I think he scored a consolation goal.
The thing is, because I liked Janmaat when we had him, and when he went to Watford and they beat us, I was so cut because they destroyed us that day.
Well, the thing about it was the thing that was slightly off topic, but with Janmaat, that was one of the cells that really pissed me off because he was banging on about wanting to go and play in Europe and all the rest of it, and then he went to Watford. Watford were nowhere near Europe, and he went for like a measly 8 million. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna go and you're gonna open your mouth about
I hope
leaving,
he gets relegated.
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like
Pete,
Watford have gone nowhere.
Does that remind you of Nazogbia when he said the same? Like he wanted to leave for big things, and he ended up at Wigan or something like that, didn't he? Or Villa, or one of the two.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He talked a good talk when he played for us, and then when we went down, and he was one of the big reasons why we went down because his head he'd lost his head. It was just poor. I hope he plays so ASM can destroy him tomorrow. I'd really, really enjoy that. Really, really enjoy that.
Boys, we got a question from someone who's quite familiar with all of us. Mr. Sebastian Chabe. I don't know if you guys have heard of him at all, but he said, who should we look?
Look, where is he, man? Tell him to get on.
I don't know.
I don't want him asking.
Not Shirley.
I don't want him asking the questions in the comments. I want him asking the questions in the chat, in the stream.
I know. Seb, you've been put on notice when you're watching, boy. But anyway, striker-wise, who should we sign? Because Jonathan Young said Callum Wilson. I'll take it that said Bournemouth goes down. Fumbi, our head of recruitment. Go first, bro.
Right. To be honest with you, man, I need this takeover news to happen ASAP. Otherwise, we're getting 30-year-old rejects to join the team next season if we don't get a takeover. Mike Ashley's he spent 40 million on Joe Linton. He'll be like, you better make that motherfucker work. Because there's no way he's buying another fresh talent. We're about to get a Ridgie.
By making him work, he's probably putting him in Sports Direct. You know about
right? Like we really need to get some money. Otherwise, we're gonna buy a 35-year-old champ.
We're not because that's policy. Ashley's policy is 26 and below. So we're going to get another Joe Linton. That's what we're going to get. We're going to get another Joe Linton.
I would love us to get Edouard from Celtic. I think
Yeah.
that's the one.
Yeah.
I think he's got. I think he's got what it takes. I'd love
what, Marv?
Ollie Watkins is a shout as well. I've been laughed at this before, but Ollie Watkins is a backup striker.
Yeah.
I've been watching Brentford quite a lot. I've been looking for a few Championship players, and there's a QPR attack midfielder as well. I can't remember his name. Eze or something is.
Yeah. So, you know what? They're two players that we've been heavily linked with, and apparently there's a lot of talk, particularly up north, with the local journals that Edouard is actually really keen on coming to us. He sees us as a viable option. So to get him in, I mean, look, Celtic will command a lot of money, but they won't command the sort of money that other clubs would of their players because of let's face it, because of the league that he plays in. But he's a talented player. Ollie Watkins, 100%. I think he's a good young striker.
If you got those two, much better.
No,
realistic.
Leave Watkins. Leave Watkins at Brentford. Brentford's my second team right now. let them have Watkins, and I can watch them when they play at home, innit?
Brentford ain't getting Premier League, man.
What?
They're not getting Premier League.
You're about to fall out, man.
I'm saying it to wind you up. I'm saying it to wind you up.
Tell me, man. Listen, I want Brentford to go up. So when Newcastle play at home, and I don't want to make that trek up there, I can just stay nice and local watching Premier League football, man. That's the dream for next season, isn't it? Andrew said Morelos from Rangers. So could you imagine if we had Morelos? Morelos is like Tamori gets quiet on steroids, bro. Like he's crazy, bro. Like
he'd be getting sent off every other game.
Yeah.
I don't think he's got the mentality for the Premier League. He's a worse version than Mitrovic. Ooh. And if you can remember, when Mitrovic came to the club, the one thing that the press, the media all spoke about was Mitrovic's attitude and his mentality, and he'd been sent off for hitting out and all the rest of it. And within a few seconds of his debut, he got booked because everyone saw that mentality. Everyone saw what everyone was talking about, and the refs saw it. So the refs played into it. The players played into it. The pulling of the shirt, the winding up. You think that was bad with Mitrovic? Morelos is worse. Don't get me wrong. He's a talented young lad. He's only 23.
Especially with like VAR as well, and what you get sent off for these days. He'd be getting sent off every other week.
And look, we've had plenty of players like that over the years. We've had your Dyers, you've had your Bowyers. You can go through the list. You've had your Bellamy's.
Everything you said, Pete, is what we go for in a player. Problems. What should sign him?
You know why?
You know what we'll do? We'll sign him with like passion. He's got passion.
Yeah.
But the reason they'll sign him, more than anything, is because he's cheaper. He'll come cheaper than Edouard would from Celtic. Probably that's a classic My Passionate move. Is that they'll go for him at Rangers because he's cheaper than the better quality player at Celtic. That's the difference, and that's the issue I have. I mean, we could go through lots of players that we'd like to sign.
Yeah.
But as Rumby said, you've got a list if we get taken over, and then you've got a list if like actually they're a very, very different list. They're a very, very different list. The contrast is like ridiculous.
Hey, real talk. If we don't get taken over, brace yourself for next season, bro. Brace yourself.
Who said he's already planning for next season?
ASM transfer talks. That's all we're going to be hearing.
Yeah. I just want a firm explanation from Pete when we don't get taken over, because Pete's got some explaining to do, mate.
I've got no explaining to do. I've said from the beginning.
You're the one that said it's going to happen, bro.
I am saying it's going to happen, but
all right.
I'm not legally involved in that deal. Trust me. If I was, this takeover would have been done by now. You can guarantee that.
I've lost faith, Pete. I've lost faith. I'm
still 100% confident this deal is going through. I actually believe that they'll probably just wait until the end of the season, or they've had it in mind until this season's done in order to then announce the deal. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's quite swiftly afterwards. There's nothing out there in social media or anyone that's been saying it to suggest that that's the case. It's just my opinion. But I'm more than confident. Look, if this deal wasn't going to happen, we would have known by now. Like, they would not have dragged it on 3+ months to then turn around and say it's not happening. They are putting things in place to ensure that, as we keep saying this key word, watertight, to make it watertight, to make sure that there's nothing legally that can come back against them when they announce the deal. So they're making sure that all corners, all areas are covered, all bases are covered, to make sure that this deal goes through and it goes through and it's legit. And I'm prepared to wait for that. I've waited 13 years. You know what I mean? I'm prepared to wait an extra month, an extra few weeks. I don't mind, because, as I've said before, when this takeover goes through and the serious amount of money that these owners have, and I'm not just talking about PIF, you've got the Reuben brothers that are worth 19 billion on their own, right? You are looking at a serious player here. And I don't think the pundits, and I don't think Sky, and I don't think BBC or whoever it is that are talking about it realise the strength of these guys and the power and the money that these guys have, and the will and determination that they want to be the best. You hear about a lot of people that are speaking to people in Saudi Arabia, and they ask about the PIF. They ask about the Saudi Arabian government and bin Salman and how he is and who he is as a person. They want to be the best at everything. They want to achieve. They see what Qatar are doing with PSG.
Yeah,
they want to be better than that. They want to be better.
Yeah, I used to live in Qatar before, like even a couple of weeks ago. I was there for 3 years, and there, honestly, it's the jealousy that comes in where obviously they have PSG and Saudi don't have anyone. Where Saudi will not mess around.
Have Emirates.
Yeah,
So
exactly. They're big players. And even I feel like the media are giving all Bruce this positivity because they want us to keep Bruce. They want us to stay down with that mediocrity and that in. But they know if we get a poach and we obviously plan and invest properly, we'll be doing serious things. And it will take time, but they'll have a plan. Anyone that thinks they don't have a plan in place is fooling themselves. Ridiculous. They're business people and they know what they're doing.
You watch when we get taken over. You watch the rapid changes in that club. We'll be waking up every day to a new change. Someone else being employed, something else being implemented into the club. We're gonna be literally watching tennis side to side, watching these changes because we are a shell of the club at the moment. We have hardly any staff in the club. We have half the amount of staff that any other Premier League club have, because he's broken us down to a shell. We need to be built up, and it's going to take time. And we have, as a fan base, need to be prepared for the backlash of the journalists. You've got Luke Edwards on Twitter that's come out and been ultra negative the last month about the deal, and arguing against any other fan that's thinking or talking positively, or arguing against any other fan that doesn't want Steve Bruce in charge because it's one of his mates. It's a joke. Right? But we need to be prepared for this as a fan base, because we're going to be hated by other clubs and other clubs' fan bases, but we're going to be also hated by the media. And next season, for example, if we're not getting into Europe, or we're only getting in the top 10, top 8, they're going to get on our backs. Or they've got this multi-billion pound owner, and they're not getting up there, and they'll be the first to come out. The media will be first to come out.
Yeah,
but you see his rise over the years. They'll have no choice but to accept it, because the Saudi owners won't want it any other way. They'll want success, and they'll want it tomorrow. And they'll know they'll have to build over a few years. But when they get to that point, they're going to want the best. You'll see after a few years, we'll just all of a sudden start attracting the best players. And I'm not talking about your Messis and your Mbappes. I'm talking about your better, top quality young players in Europe. Your likes of your Kai Havertz. We'll be in that position in 4
years.
Yeah,
like Jude Bellingham and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we'll be in that position in 3, 4, 5 years' time, where we will be competing against the likes of Chelsea and Dortmund and those players, and we'll have the financial backing to bring those type of players in, and hopefully they'll want to come to us. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but the Saudis would like it to happen tomorrow, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time. But when it does, we will reap the benefits of that. Just like Man City.
Let's cut the takeover talk from the takeover correspondent, because otherwise we'll be talking forever in Football Manager lingo. Going back to Watford versus Newcastle, I'm gonna push you guys for a result now, and I'm gonna make a mental note of it, because tomorrow let's see what happens in it. Starting with whoever wants to go first. Marv.
Sorry, I missed that last bit. Did you ask for the result?
Yeah. So just give us a score prediction of what you think the result's going to be tomorrow.
1-0. We're going to win 1-0. And I think it'll be a goal quite late on.
Okay. Any goal scorer at all?
I am going to say... Oh, bold one. I'm going to say Lazaro.
Lazaro?
Yeah.
Cut through his face there. Lazaro?
I know.
What you said?
You know what? Depending on the lineup, if we got a full squad, I can't see more than a draw. I can't. But if we win, I'll take it. But I'm thinking a 1-0 draw. But if we win, I'll take that. But
that's a betting man's bet. That's a good bet.
I'm just afraid that Watford need it, and we're just like, yeah, it's nice to be in London. But listen, guys, I got to run, man. I got to go. But I'll chat.
Nah, it's cool. Take care.
See you later, man.
Anyway, so no worries,
man.
Take care, man. Pete, last but no means least, bro. What are you saying?
I think we'll win 2-1. Providing we go full strength and we have the strongest team possible to us, barring that Richie Lazaro switch. I think we can cause them problems. And we've got, we're usually good when we get hammered by a team. We're usually good at hitting back. And coming back with a better performance, so I'm hoping to see that tomorrow. So I think it'll be 2-1. I think Gale will score tomorrow. I think if we're in a goal scoring game, I think he'll be on the score sheet.
Okay, all right. So Beetle Greg saying a 3-0 hat trick, Golinton.
I take it. As long as we win, I'll take it. I've got nothing against Godinson. I just don't think he's a striker. But if he pops up with a hat trick, I think we'll all be buzzing about that.
No worries. And David Waller said 3-0 as well to us. So gosh, confident. So yeah, that's it for today. Obviously, game tomorrow at 12:30. So we'll probably be on around 2:30ish, straight after the game. So those that are listening in, invite a friend. You too, hope to see you too as well, where we win, lose or draw. Anyone else who wants to jump on, by all means, jump on, feel brave, chat your shit, basically. And guys, tomorrow. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Awesome.